Hi everybody, it's Mr. Gray here. Thank you again for another really great week. I'm looking ahead a little bit with some announcements for you. I do want to talk about really quick, on Wednesday, the kids had a on-site field trip where the Printing Press Museum, which is in Carson, California, came and did a presentation. So they had a big presentation on what the history of the printing press, especially related to Benjamin Franklin. And they also had a Benjamin and Franklin impersonator give a presentation to the class and talk a little bit about his life. It was a really fantastic presentation all around, and it was a really cool window for students to see the people and places of that time period. But the actual museum, you can go visit. And it was a really cool thing. The students got to kind of see about the printing press process, but when you go there, you get to actually partake in it. So I put a link in the updates page about the Printing Press Museum, but if you're ever looking for something to do, it seems like a really fun thing. And it's a great time to do it now at some point before the end of the year in 5th grade. It's related to kind of life in the colonies in a much different way than the history is next year or the year after. So it's something to think about, but they did a really good job, and the kids, I think, really enjoy it. So that was really fun. Looking ahead, some announcements. Same as before, there'll be a minimum day on Thursday, February 15th, because that will be open house that evening. There'll be no school on Friday, February 16th, and also Monday, February 19th. As far as academics go, in reading next week, we're going to start our next full unit, which is historical fiction. I told you about this before. We're going to do historical fiction really from now until spring break. We're going to split it up, though. The first time part of this, the next 5 or 6 weeks, is going to be studying historical fiction as a genre, and specifically there's going to be lots of books related to World War II, because those really emphasize the elements of historical fiction. And then after that, getting into spring break, or will take us to spring break, we'll look at historical fiction books that are specifically tailored to the American Revolution, which is what we'll be studying around that time. So next week, we're going to talk about what are the elements of historical fiction, and also really focus in on the characters. What are the characters doing? How do they respond to trouble? And how do their internal traits and external conflicts end up colliding. I'm reading a book out loud called Number the Stars by Lois Lowry that is a historical fiction book. It focuses on the life of this girl and her family in Denmark during the Nazi occupation in 1943, and it will end up with the Danish resistance to that. So it's a really interesting book, but it also is kind of reinforcing this idea about what is historical fiction. In writing, we have a really exciting unit that we started at the end of this week, and then we're going to move on to next week. It's called Memoir. And so Memoir is a really both exciting and fun unit, and also an incredibly challenging unit. And the reason is because memoirs don't fit in one nice, neat box like all the other genres. They have elements of narrative and elements of just different kinds of essays, argument and information essays, persuasive essays, opinion essays. All those can kind of be baked in, even poetry and other things. So, we're going to get started next week. We're going to be generating stories, ideas, reflecting on, my own life as a writer, the stories that I've been thinking about, and also being able to write both big and small about topics. And so as we get into this, you can definitely check in with the students about what they're writing, because it is not extremely clear cut, and that makes it really challenging for some and really exciting for others. So I'm going to be trying to support those who have a little more difficulty without that structure, but I think it'll be a really fun unit for the students to do. They're going to be writing stories about their own life. They're going to be commenting on things that have happened in their own life, commenting, reflecting on things they are really passionate about and big ideas in the world. So it'll be a really good time. In math next week, we're going to continue working on operations of fractions, so adding fractions, subtracting fractions, and multiplying fractions in all different ways. And the kids will have kind of a check-in quiz with those on Wednesday. In social studies, they're continuing to work on their History Day project. If they're trying to enter the contest, meaning they're turning it into me and Mrs. Gray, and a couple students in each category will go on to the county competition. That is due on Monday. And if you're not entering the competition, yours is due on Wednesday. You have a couple extra days for that. So in addition to that, we're going to start to get into our next unit, which is about life in the 13 colonies. And specifically, we're starting with what were the 13 colonies, like which areas were the 13 colonies and many of their characteristics, as well as starting to get into the location of all 50 states and the capital. So we're starting with the 13 colonies, which morph into 13 states, but also we have this larger topic, which is going to take us quite a while, is to study all 50 states, their locations, and their capital. So the kids are kind of getting into that and have some practice to learn those, which is really fun. In science, we're going to look at a ecosystem simulation, which talks about how humans or other different factors can disrupt an ecosystem, like what changes take place. And then finally, on Monday, our leadership for the week is looking at Circle of Viewpoints, which is where we look at some event that happens from lots of different potential viewpoints and think about how other people would feel in that situation and kind of act that out. It'll be about a time where someone hears like hurtful comments. So someone says something mean about either your friend or yourself or someone and like how do you react in that situation and what do you do? So it'll be a really great conversation starting next week. As always, there's a lot of things going on. So thank you again for your help and support. Hope you have a really great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.